All right, thanks, Morgan. All right, let's share screen. We got all kinds of fun things to do today. So release notes, as always, Aspen Test Bywater Solutions, admin release notes. You can see what all we've done. We'll be making a few updates and adding the test notes and that kind of stuff later today. A few things I want to mention before we start the real demo. And some of this we'll see again later when Jordan reviews the notes, but we spent a lot of time with Evolve. It was actually a relatively easy ILS to implement. So we think we've got at least initial support for them completed. So that was fun to do. Another thing we found was we had a new bot come and find one of our sites, which is good. We like it when sites index Aspen, helps patrons get to it. In this case, Applebot decided that it would index several hundred pages a second for a server, which was a little aggressive. So we made a few updates, which made that work. So Aspen can now for sure handle several hundred page views a second, which is not realistic patron usage, but cool that we can do it now. So nice to do that. Also, as more and more people are using EBSCOhost, which is really cool, we have a few sites that are using both EDS and EBSCOhost on the same server. That was something we hadn't considered previously. So we did a little work to make sure that you could have both EBSCOhost as well as EDS on the same site, and that they would work and coexist nicely together. So like if you've got some universities or community colleges, as well as some public libraries that are each using each of those, that works great now. So that's cool. We won't demo it, but it does work. Other things we did, so so the sign-in form, I'm not going to actually sign in here. So we did update the Remember Me checkbox to keep me signed in, just to be a little more indicative of what it actually does. One of those subtle things that like not people notice, you just kind of click it. So it will now keep you signed in, and the logic on that is it's going to keep you signed in for 2 weeks after there's no activity. So Remember Me, keep me signed in, same functionality as it was before, but a little bit better wording. The other thing we did is if you are a staff person with bypass automatic logout turned on, you don't actually see that checkbox when you go to log in. So behind the scenes, we're doing the same thing. So it's going to keep you signed in for 2 weeks if you are on a public internet based off IP detection and you have the bypass automatic logout turned on. So hopefully that all makes a little bit more sense. The other thing we did that that we'll talk about, but not really demo, is we've done a lot with Evergreen indexing. We've noticed additional quirks of Evergreen. So we've done some work to make sure that that works better and that the full exports are all working, and also working on the performance of all of the incremental updates. So some fun things there. Then we'll get to the actual fun stuff. So we've done a lot of work this time on the account menu and saved searches, and you're going to see this both in Aspen Discovery as well as Aspen Lita. So we went through and we reorganized some of the account menu as well as the sidebar, just to make a little bit more sense and so that everything's in the same order. So you're going to see things like, instead of my lists, it's your lists, and instead of my searches, it's your searches, just for a little bit more consistency. And then when we go into your searches, we're going to see, so also on the sidebar, we removed the list of lists here and just linked people into your lists. so that you can see that easily. What you may have noticed as I clicked past it is the saved searches. So we have a new job that runs it's currently running every weekday at 10 a.m. local time to update saved searches. And this is just going to indicate what things are new. This has new records. So let's go ahead and set one up. So I'm going to do a search for Miles Morales. So here we go. I'm going to go down and save the search. So same way I used to. So down at the bottom here in the footer, we're going to save search. And I'm going to name this Miles Morales. And then when I go into my saved searches, so it's not currently showing it's updated because it's not 10 o'clock the next day. So presumably I'm looking at it, I know what's on there. So let's just pretend though that it is 10 o'clock the next day. And I'm just gonna, in the background here, run the job to update this. So say it's been a week and I'm coming back in and I want to see, oh, hey, there's new updates to my Miles Morales search. I wonder what those are. So I can either click on the search and that will give me a list of all of the titles. So I'm getting back to my titles. And anything that's new now is going to get this little new flag. So it's really easy for me to see new things that I might want to place on hold. So if I'm following all of those comics, I can easily get it out of Hoopla. The other thing from that saved search, if I click on the updated link, it's going to take me to just those titles. So just the title that's updated. In this case, there's just one. Now, the other place that I can see that is if I'm browsing and you've turned on your saved searches as browse category. So this in the browse category settings, you can enable your saved searches for anybody. And then when they're logged in, they see recent searches. So, and the new things show there. So it's a great way to like really personalize the catalog to your patrons so that they can easily find what's new to them. Now, the other thing we wanted to do as we kind of explored this functionality, the thought was kind of like, well, you know what? People might want to just know what's new to the catalog everywhere, no matter what search they're doing, even if it's saved or not. So we have the ability now, if we go into Aspen administration and we go into our grouped work display, we can modify this. And under search results, we're going to turn on always flag new titles. And we'll save those changes. So there we go. Then we're just going to do a search. I didn't check for new cookbooks here. So we're going to search for cooking. And then I'm just going to, whoops. It's my debugging, excuse those. I'm just going to search that by date purchase just to get the most recent stuff up. I don't have any. Apparently we don't have any new cooking. So it's using a criteria of added in the last week. So it's anything that we've added in the last week. So here, let's just look for things that have been purchased. And well, apparently I've got something going on wrong there. So we will take a look at that. So the other thing I wanted to show, so that will be working a little later here. So that always flag new titles will work. The other thing to note, in the admin section, we've added a save button. So especially for long things like library administration, it can be a pain to make your changes, scroll all the way down to the bottom. We wanted to make it easy to save. So you can now click save from any admin page partway up the screen. It'll just do a save and stay there. The other thing while we're here, so we had a little bit of an issue where if you were using a default toggle that wasn't entire collection, when you went to the search, so I'm just gonna save that, we had a few extra formats showing. So if I'm just gonna do a search for Harry Potter here.
Let's try.
So here it was just not hiding things that weren't available by default. If you clicked over to like entire collection and back to available now, it would hide those, but we got those hidden. Just wanted to mention that because we've had a few different people notice that. So yeah, so saved search is a big thing. I'm going to turn it over to Jordan to show our LIDA updates for this release.
Sure. Thank you so much, Mark. Let me get the emulator pulled up. Okay, there we go. So we did a couple of new things for LIDA this release. The first was to make the first screen that loads with all of the browse categories a little bit more performant by understanding that not all users immediately want to go through these titles. Many users want to search first. Maybe users are logging in to check their account. But this screen was still taking a little bit more time than we wanted to load. And I think we showed this last time where after the first 5 results, we get the load all categories. We made a tweak to it this time. Before, it was looking at the first 2 main, or sorry, not the first 2, the first 5 main browse categories. And then if they had any subcategories, it was showing all of those categories as well. So maybe the intention was only to show 5, but if your first browse category had 10 subcategories, we were showing all of those subcategories as well. So it wasn't quite having the effect that we wanted it to have. So we went ahead and made an adjustment there. And now no matter what, you get 5. And you can see for me, because I have lists and I have saved searches, and because those are in the top of my browse categories, those are the ones that I get here. So that was one change to the browse categories. The second change that we made is also on these little new flags that Mark was showing you in Discovery. I want to give a little background on these because this really came out of LIDA development. If you remember back to the last gathering, we were talking about notifications in the app. And we said, hey, we want to start notifying people when they have new titles on their saved searches. So we were thinking, okay, as long as we're doing that, what else does it make sense to do with this feature? Because that's really the groundwork. We have to be able to recognize in a, every week what the new titles are. What can we do with that feature? So that's where the idea for these new flags came and said, hey, wouldn't it be great if they've turned off the notices once we build them, if we can also notify people that their things are new. So that's where these little new flags came from. And you can see them here, just like you could in Mark's demo for these saved searches. We also added some additional things to my account. We now have this saved searches section right here, and it will also have that little update badge on it to tell you which of your saved searches are new. And then we have the saved searches page. So if you, or screen, if you come into this screen, again, it will tell you which are new, and I can click into one. Oop, just taking a second. Let's try one of the other ones. Not sure what's going on there, but it loads the search and then would have the new flag at the top of each of the titles. Let's try getting into one of these from here, see if that works. Because we also have the load more from here. Oh, okay, so this is just a bug. This is why we have the time in between when it goes, when we launch to our test servers and when we do live, is to fix these things. One other change that we made in LIDA this month was for adding titles to lists. Previously, if you added a title to a list and then you made the title the same as an old list, so if I had my back to school list and then I tried to create a new back to school list, it was letting you create those duplicate lists. And we really don't want those duplicate lists. We wanted it to do the same thing as Discovery. So now it will understand what you really mean, which is please add this title to my duplicate list. So those are your LIDA updates, and I will turn it back over to Morgan.